Few questions on some of the news stories of the morning. And to kick off with, I want to ask you about Syria, because back in 2013, when you were leader of the opposition, you voted against David Cameron's plans for military action in response to President Assad's chemical attacks on his own people. This morning, we've been hearing from some of the people affected by those attacks. So do you regret that decision now?
No, I don't. I mean, let me say first of all that obviously what we just heard was a horrific account of President Assad's brutality, and I welcome the fall of President Assad. Back in 2013, we were confronted with whether we should have a potential one-off bombing of Syria, but there was no plan for what this British involvement would mean, where it would lead, and what the consequences would be. And I believe that in the light of the Iraq war, we could never send British troops back into combat unless we were absolutely clear about what a plan was, including what an exit strategy was. Now, to those people who say that President Assad would have fallen if we'd bombed him in 2013, that's obviously wrong, because President Trump bombed President Assad in 2017 and 2018, so he didn't fall. So I welcome the fall of a brutal dictator, but I think the view that some people seem to be expressing about history is just wrong.
Some would say that the decision to block military action not only gave President Assad confidence, but also Russia confidence, not just in the region but beyond, because it signalled weakness from the UK and other Western countries. What would you say to those critics?
I think it's very easy for people to say that the answer to the problems of the world is British military intervention. But as I sort of said earlier, in this case, we have a clear understanding of what the consequences might have been, because in 2017 and 2018, there was military action against President Assad, and it certainly didn't precipitate the fall of his regime. I took the decisions I did because the British involvement in Iraq led to the deaths of our troops and was rightly, in my view, seen as a very serious error. And so without going over all of that history, I think we drew the right lessons from that.
I just want to ask you as well about NATO and defence spending, because Mark Rutte, the Secretary-General of NATO, has talked about a need to switch to a war mindset and a need to turbocharge defence spending. Your government at the moment has an ambition to reach 2.5% of GDP for defence spending, but we don't know when that will happen. And now there are talks going on with some countries suggesting that target needs to be higher, up to 3%. Are we going far enough in this country on defence spending?
Look, the Chancellor made an important allocation to defence in the budget, and defence is a really important priority for this government. Indeed, it's the top priority of the government to keep our nation safe. But I think it's easy to say we should spend a certain percentage of GDP. The decision the Chancellor's got to make is, well, where's she going to find the money?
So shall we ask, where's that question?
Yeah.
Look, with hindsight, I think we can say, looking back on the events of 2013, that the hesitation of this country and the United States create a vacuum that Russia moved into and kept Assad in power for much longer.
So that was a mistake by Miliband.
And hang just a second. What I cannot say with certainty, and what we can't say for certainty even now that the rat has fled to Moscow to his backers, we cannot say that the back of Assad is going to lead to a better Syria yet. We don't know. It's too soon to judge. There are some encouraging signs, which range from the fact that the new regime is working with the international community to hand over chemical weapons stockpiles, right through to the utterly appalling fact that there are children who've walked out into freedom, who were born into prison, have never seen the sun, never seen the sky, never seen a tree, and that is the kind of regime they were living under. So do I think that back in 2013, had we acted, Russia would have been there and Assad would have been propped up for as long as he had. I don't think that's true. I think if the West had acted faster, Assad would have been gone. Would that have led to a better Syria than the one we've had under Assad?
Let me bring everyone else in.
I don't know.
I've only got 3 minutes left.
We know from our own foreign policy history, inaction is a choice, but so is action. And we've seen in other cases like Libya, where action did not lead to a better future.
I'm going to have to bring the rest of the panel in.
You've made your admission. We can